Hey guys, I so cannot wait for this learning topic to be done. We're still talking about genocide, and every single year I teach about it, it's just emotionally draining. Hopefully, you guys are hanging in there, but if not, remember you can always stop by that optional closure discussion. Our essential question for the day: what made the genocide in the Soviet Union and Cambodia unique? We're going to be covering two different genocides today, and what can we learn from these historic events? So we're going to be watching a video on Stalin's genocide, a video on Cambodia's genocide, and then you can always come to that optional closure discussion if you are just feeling emotionally overwhelmed by this topic. All right, homework partition 321 Jamboard, the Chinese philosophies, those are all past due, but you can still turn that in for full points. In fact, anything that you're missing in the grade book from this term, you can still turn in for full points. Speaking of the end of the term, that's in 8 more days, and the end of the term final will be available Monday the 25th. Remember, that doesn't mean it's due the 25th. You just need to complete it by Thursday the 28th. I just put it up there early in case people just want to get it done early and be done with it. All right, and just a reminder on that closure discussion, that's just there so that way you're not carrying around all this emotional baggage. Talking about genocide is emotionally draining to say the least, and it's just there in case you need to just get something off your chest, say something that surprised you, or just even rant about how you can't believe that it happened. That's absolutely fine. I'm there for you. All right, go ahead and get your notes ready. We are going to be giving some background information on Russia slash USSR slash Soviet Union. All right, so Russia, it would be this country right here. It's part of what's highlighted right here in red. The Soviet Union is not the same thing as Russia. Russia is the largest country in the Soviet Union, but the Soviet Union also included a number of neighboring countries as well. So if someone tells you Russia and the USSR, Soviet Union are the same thing, not necessarily true. When Russia was still Russia, before it became the Soviet Union, it was ruled by a czar or a monarchy. A czar was just what they called their king or queen. There was a lot of economic issues. There's a lot of poverty going on in Russia, but the king was living a very lavish lifestyle. People got really, really frustrated with this, and a group called the Bolsheviks decided to storm the castle and say, "This is Bolshevik. We are going to overthrow our government and establish a different kind of government, a government for the people." And they established the Soviet Union and the Bolshevik Revolution in 1922. They really like the idea of collectivism, like sharing the wealth, which makes sense from their impoverished backgrounds. Vladimir Lenin was the first leader of the Soviet Union, and he also embraced this idea. He was influenced by um, Marxist readings and texts and liked the idea of sharing the wealth. He wasn't a strict communist. He kept some ideas of private property and some capitalist ideas, and he kind of like balanced it a little bit. So it worked out okay. Then came Joseph Stalin, this guy pictured right over here. And just in general, a rule of thumb, the less hair on the Soviet leader's head, the less crazy. The more hair, the more crazy. And as you can tell from this picture, Joseph Stalin has a lot of hair. There's a lot of crazy going on there. Joseph Stalin was a very strict communist. He had very strict communist ideas, and he took away all private property, private farms, private land, and it was a strict communist country. The unique thing about Stalin's genocide is he targeted people within his own country, starting with people who criticized him or went against him. And then he expanded it slowly into intellectuals or educated people, scientists, people who worked at universities. When the Soviet Union started expanding into and like annexing and taking over other countries, he targeted the government officials of those countries. They were automatically seen as an enemy of the USSR, Soviet Union. All right, here's a little bit of background on Cambodia. Cambodia is this little country right here in Southeast Asia. Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge, um, they took over the Cambodia government and turned it, their idea was to turn it into a socialist farming community. They were highly influenced by China, which would be right up over here, who was communist at the time in the Cultural Revolution. They actually got a lot of funding from China at the time. And they really targeted people who went against Pol Pot, including the Vietnamese, the Chinese, and the Muslim Cambodians. So this country is really, really tiny, and there was just a lot of different ethnic groups and nationalities that were living in Cambodia. Um, like marriages between Cambodians and Chinese or Vietnamese, and they had their own families. They had been living in Cambodia for years and years and years, and it wasn't a big deal until Pol Pot came around and he targeted the Vietnamese, Chinese, and Muslims and their families if they had like mixed families, um, and anybody else who went against him. They felt like this was required in order to achieve their goal. So what you guys are going to be doing today is you're going to watch the video on the Soviet Union. It's about 4 minutes long, and fill out the chart using the video, the information in that video, or a web search if you can't clearly find it. Then you're going to watch the video on Pol Pot in Cambodia. It's about 10 minutes long, and you're going to fill out the chart using the video and the web search. And if you feel like you need to come to that optional closure discussion on Google Meets, feel free to do so. Even if you just need to vent about like the horrible things that went on, I'm here to listen. All right. And if you guys have any questions, you can always contact me via email, call or text that Google Voice phone number, or come to open office hours 1:30 to 3. See ya.